Okay, it is 12 o'clock here on the East Coast and 10 a.m. in Central America. So we're going to go ahead and get started today. Thank you for all of you who are joining us today for this virtual CIES presentation. We wish that we could have seen you in person at our panel and had the chance to sort of interact more personally, but we're happy to have the opportunity to do it through this virtual medium, which we all may be getting more and more used to in the coming months. For those of you who aren't as familiar with this application of GoToWebinar, you should have the ability to raise your hand. If you see a little hand button on the panel that you can push, that just lets us know that you have a question. You can go ahead and wait till the end for those, but at the end, if you wanted to talk and share a question with us, you can go ahead and just push that hand button. If you have questions throughout the presentation, you can also go ahead and enter those directly into the chat or the question box. That way we can start gathering those up and we'll try to respond to those during the discussion at the end of the presentation. Otherwise, everybody should be self-muted so that it comes across nice and clear for our various presenters. So I'm going to go ahead and start by introducing the panel and the presentation. My name is Dr. Rebecca Stone, and I will be today's discussant. I'm the director for the Lacreade's Capacity Program, which is a USAID-funded program working on early grade literacy issues in Central America and the Caribbean. So once again, welcome to this session, and I'm going to start off by introducing our panelists today. Our first panelist is Paola Andrade Calderon, who is a doctor of behavioral neuroscience and also has a master's of clinical neuropsychology who's from Guatemala. Paola has 9 years of experience conducting research and specializing in neuropsychological evaluation, diagnosis, and intervention, and 10 years of experience as a professor of education or in the faculties of education, medicine, and psychology, both in Mexico and Guatemala. She's part of the editorial committee of various index journals in the area of neuroscience and education, and is currently the executive secretary for the Red Lay Network, which is the network for early literacy in Central America and the Caribbean. Our next presenter today will be Hilda Ruth Flores Munoz, who is an engineer in computer systems with a master's degree in finance, global marketing with multiple masters, finance, global marketing, and quality and equity in education. Also a doctoral candidate in education. And Hilda has been a professor in the faculties of engineering, economics, and humanities in education in different universities throughout Guatemala. She works as a consultant in software engineering for banking and finance, as well as integral innovation strategies in the educational field. Hilda is the director and founder of private companies in educational technology and software development with reach throughout Central America, Peru, the United States, and Germany. She was also one of the recipients of Red Lay's research fellowships and collaborates as a consultant in educational innovation. Our final presenter today will be Mariela Isabel Zelada Ochoa, who has a bachelor's in education with a master's degree in measurement, evaluation, and research and curriculum from the Universidad del Valle in Guatemala. She also holds a master's degree in educational policy studies from the University of Illinois at Chicago, where she held a Fulbright grant. Mariela has also taught at various levels and has had the opportunity to coordinate projects with the United Nations in Guatemala, USAID, and other cooperation agencies in support of the Ministry of Education, the National Council of Youth, among others. She also has experience in educational research and academic and financial management of programs and projects. Currently, she is the Dean of the Faculty of Education at the Universidad del Valle and the regional coordinator of the Red Lay Network, which I just mentioned. And finally today, our discussant will be Josefina Vigil, who has a doctorate in education from the University of Louvain in Belgium. She is a regional reading specialist for the Lacreade's Capacity Program, and she's also a senior researcher and co-founder of the Center for Educational Research and Social Action, which is CIASIS, based in Managua, Nicaragua. It's a pretty impressive panel. It makes me excited just to read all of those amazing CVs for this panel today. So I welcome you all, and I look forward to the discussion at the end. Just for a quick overview of what this team is going to cover today, they'll start out sort of introducing everyone to what Red Lay is and what their objectives and goals are in this region. And then move into a discussion around the various scholarship programs that Red Lay offers, how they're designed and implemented, some specific results from the regional research studies that have been carried out throughout the region, as well as the implication and scope for these studies and some sort of next steps and future thoughts. And then at the end, we'll have a period. Josefina will provide a bit of a summary of what was discussed today and open the floor up for discussion and questions. So we look forward to an active conversation at the end. So to get us started, I will pass this the mic over to Paola.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to present, along with my colleagues, the results of one of the first initiatives of Red Lay to promote high-quality EGL research in the region. When we say EGL, we mean early grade literacy, or in Spanish, lectoescritura inicial. The Early Grade Literacy Network of Central America and the Caribbean, Red Lay, is an initiative of 6 universities and an international organization that promotes regional integration. Red Lay's headquarters are at the Faculty of Education at the Universidad del Valle de Guatemala, UVG, and its purpose is to increase the production, dissemination, and use of EGL research to inform policy and practice in the region. In order to achieve our objectives, Red Lay works to develop capacity to produce high-quality EGL research and also early education research appropriated to the region context to disseminate this evidence and inform public policymakers and implementers. Red Lay continues the efforts of the LACRICS Capacity Program, which is increased impact and sustainability of early literacy intervention in the region through evidence-based decision-making. So Red Lay, our network, was designed to connect research to action. We have 2 research studies that are the main references for our regional work and activities and for the design of Red Lay. The first one is the systematic review. Through this research, the LAC program tried to respond what was being published from 1990 to 2015 in the region in the field of EGL, and in which countries of Central America and the Caribbean were the studies developed, what is the age of the population that has been investigated, and does the research focus on reading or literacy? Are there best teaching practices identified? If they found research papers, reports, or just essays. Through this intensive search, it was possible to identify, as you can see in the slide, that research related to EGL in the region is not widely conducted. The peer-reviewed research was only found in the Latin American countries with higher income levels. Research on EGL does not capture usually the regional and socioeconomic diversity of these countries, and contextualized evidence is needed to guide the decision making. But even more important is to generate the need for research as a basis for designing the public policy and what is done in the classroom. And related with the stakeholder analysis, the LACRICS Capacity Program asked the stakeholders of the region how they were making decisions. And the results, there is a lack of trust and external evidence. We need more contextualized local evidence. Also, we need to understand how to use the evidence, how to make it approachable, usable. Usually we don't have a systematized collection of successful practices or methodologies, and the evidence that exists in form of standardized tests does not capture or account the variation among the students, and such as poverty. Usually they concentrate in the outcome but not in the process. Especially at the teacher level, every stakeholder in all the countries expressed the need for more guidance, not only the way to implement best practices in the classroom, but also they needed to know where to find or how to access information. So to make these efforts, the efforts of the Lack Risk Capacity Program sustainable, Relay was designed, and these are our objectives that I mentioned already. So Relay was inaugurated in May. As you can see, we are in the region. Our founding members are in Guatemala, la Universidad del Valle de Guatemala, en Honduras, la Universidad Pedagógica Nacional Francisco Morazán, la Universidad Centroamericana en Nicaragua, Universidad Centroamericana José Simeón Cañas in El Salvador, Universidad de Costa Rica in that country, Pontificia Universidad Católica Madre y Maestra in the Dominican Republic, and also la Coordinación Educativa y Cultural de Centroamérica y el Caribe. And we also are in the process of engaging a university from Panama. So these are the three components of Relay. We have research, training, and communication, each one with a strategy plan that is being implemented in each country by our founders. And they promote the synergy around the country and around the region. This is our vision, that all the children in Central America and the Caribbean countries use their proficiency in reading and writing to improve their quality of lives and the quality of the people around them. So in this panel, we will focus on the research component. Relay proposed a grant program for the production and dissemination of research, high-quality research on EGL, and to have evidence, contextualize, and promote the dialogue between the stakeholders. So first of all, why do we need this program? We know from previous studies that in the region we lack of training to generate high-quality research. And in many of our specialists, although they know a lot about EGL, they don't have experience in research, also in publishing in index journals. And another issue is the lack of funds and the lack of mentoring to develop a study with a relevant theoretical and methodological basis that provides valid evidence that can be used to make decisions. So I will discuss the process of designing and implementing the scholarship program, focusing my presentation in the first goal, that at the bottom you can see the dates of the activities of the second cohort. They're working and they're finishing their articles in a few days. The first step for this program was to set up a scholarship committee, which was made up of one of the representatives from the Relay's universities. The committee reviewed and approved the scholarship proposal. Instruments were designed to standardize the evaluation of the research proposal, as well as the applicant's profile, meaning the CV and the research experience. The first call was open to residents of Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. And the proposals focus on these 5 themes based on the research conducted by the Lack Risk Capacity programs. These are our fellows from the first and the second cohort. And related to the implementation, each fellow was accompanied by an academic advisor and was assigned a tutor if needed. It is important to mention that all the activities carried out by the network aim to develop capacity. So for us, it's very important to train our researchers and to fill the gaps that they might have from their training and for the experience in the field. The final product was an academic article that needed to be published in a peer-reviewed journal. The first cohort published their articles in the UBG journal, which you can find in our website and the social networks of Relay. All the researchers also Relay promote the participation of all the researchers in national and international academic events to disseminate the results and all the activities that they have developed through the program. Related to the challenges of this program, it has been a challenge to identify professionals with research and training experience, but also even more complex to find specialists in EGL. It is a reality in our region and probably one of the factors that determines the lack of use of the evidence to make decisions about EGL and what is happening in the classroom. We don't know how literacy is taught and learned, nor what works best in our region and our classrooms. So despite having some specialists in the region and they know how to theoretical know what is EGL, usually their work is not linked to the research. So therefore, forming this team of fellows has involved a group of effort from all the universities in the region that are integrated in Relay, because the accompaniment of a specialist has been required to support from the beginning the literature review, the research design, the data collection, and the analysis. All the fellows have training in this and help from a specialist, not just a specialist in EGL, but a specialist in research. And one of the most complex parts was the writing. We're not used to, we have little training in this, and we're not used to communicate our results, our findings in a written form, at least not in academic article. And so a lot of the evidence in the region remain in reports that you read. So this is an important training that we need for all the researchers. An important issue is the access of the database. We usually don't have up-to-date information. And in the countries that exist, we usually don't use it. Another challenge for us within the program was the time that researchers had to devote to the research, because in our region, we're not used to find specialists that dedicate 100% to the research. All of our fellows have another job, because it's the reality in our region. So, and also the scholarship program had to be implemented within a time frame defined by the condition of the project and the funds that we have. So it's necessary to carry out longitudinal research, and that's one of the goals of the next stage of Relay works. So the journal, also a challenge for us and for all the researchers in the region, is the access for journals to publicate. Generally, our fellows have little or no experience in publishing in peer-reviewed journals. So we established as a network communication with our partners, and we will provide some spaces for them with the help of all the tutors and advisors to have high-quality products to be published. Also, some of the challenges in the training of our researchers, our fellows, are that generally we are unaware of the need, but especially the require to have all the research proposals evaluated by an ethics committee. We found that many of our fellows didn't know about this requirement, have no training related to this, and usually they perceive this process as a bureaucratic process that delay the implementation of the research. this is part of the training that every researcher has to receive in the university. And for all the challenges that we have faced and that we all know in the region that exists, we can say as a network that some of the universities in Central America and the Caribbean are not training the researchers to produce high quality research, and maybe they don't have the capacity. So that's one of the goals also that Relay pursued, to develop capacity in institutional level. So why not hire these few researchers? Because we know there are researchers who are specialists in the area. They produce high quality research and they are specialists in EGL. Why we don't do that? Because we want to build capacity. We want to build this new young group of researchers who will produce the evidence that in the coming decades that we need in the region. And we need to build a learning community. We usually work separate, and we are working as a network to build a strong learning community, to produce this evidence, to train, and to give information and evidence to all the gaps that we have. So as we learn to work as a team, the results are better and the impact greater. I already mentioned the ethic committee challenge, so I won't mention it again. Related to the collaboration and the work as a team and the link of the research and the training, it's been a really good experience for us. The collaboration between universities, senior and junior researchers has been beneficial for the network. The regional vision is also something that we're working on, but to do that, we need training. We need training for our researchers. So gradually, we decrease the dependence on foreign experts. And what better way to know about the challenges and the lesson learned than hearing from one of our fellows, former Relay fellows. He is Rafael Mesa. He's joining us, and he will talk about the experience that that he had as a fellow in the program. He's a professor at the Universidad Centroamericana in Nicaragua, and I say former fellow, but he's a colleague. He's a team member from Nicaragua that is really active, promoting and giving everything he has to improve the evidence that we have as a Relay member. So, Rafael Mesa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Paola. Okay, thanks for this opportunity. And I'm glad and I'm honored to be here. And well, I think that being involved in a network such as Relay has helped me overcome obstacles of the academic environment here in Nicaragua. As Paola just mentioned, in Central America and particularly in Nicaragua, having research being left out is kind of a general trend. When young researchers such as myself try to create evidence that may have some kind of impact on the policy-making process, we find ourselves not having neither the necessary training to formulate and undertake research proposals, nor the necessary funding to do it. So as a research fellow for Relay, not only I got the access to funds, but I was also able to collaborate and work alongside experienced and renowned researchers. I was given the chance to design a research proposal, and I got mentoring throughout the entire process. Not only that, the work environment at Relay managed to boost our confidence. And why do I say that? Because we were given the opportunities to make mistakes. Because all of our mentors considered that, well, error is an essential part of these kinds of process. I would like to say that having been a research fellow at Red Lake has helped me develop my career as educator and researcher to a level that I had never foreseen nor expected. It was a great experience overall, and I think Red Lake must keep going with its mission. Hopefully, more young researchers will have the same opportunities I had. For me, creating capacity is the only way to help educators be aware of the impact they may have on education policy. So I would like to recommend that keep up these kinds of initiative, and thank you very much for this opportunity and for this experience to all the team in Red Lake.
Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, Rafael, for the work and the collaboration. And for us, the next steps, we are currently in the process of analyzing our regional research agenda, because we know that it needs to be adapted for the current events in our region and the world. And in addition, we're working on a sustainability strategy. And we know, and I said it a lot of times, we need training. So Red Lake designed a master degree program to train researchers to do research on EGL in the region. This is a regional proposal, one of a kind, a regional effort that you can read about in our website, and all the information that we are going to be publishing in the next months. We hope to begin the program in January 2021. So we can address some of the gaps that we have and train the research and have the evidence that we need to make better decisions related to AGL. So I will now leave you with my colleague, Hilda.
Thank you, Paola. Good morning. I will present the scope, the potential, and the impact of the developed research in the region. Okay, next slide, please. In this map, you can see the research developed by country in the first cohort. In Guatemala, there were 4 studies, in El Salvador 1, and 3 in Nicaragua. In the next slides, I will present a summary of each study. Next, please. These are the studies developed in Guatemala. The first study, next, is called Contributions of Mobile Learning in Developing Reading Comprehension in 3rd Grade Elementary School in Guatemala. This is actually a study that I developed. The improvement in levels of reading comprehension is still a pending agenda for Latin America and especially for Guatemala. At the same time, an accelerated increase of mobile devices which have a high potential to download applications to promote learning acquisition is taking place. The integration of these environments is the region of this research, which intends to identify the contributions of mobile learning can have on reading comprehension in 3rd grade students at elementary public schools in rural Guatemala. To do so, a mobile application in the shape of an interactive reading book was implemented by applying a blended research approach. The research results reflect the challenges of the Project Target Educational Center in terms of teaching methodologies and abilities, facilities and resources to foster the improvement of reading comprehension. However, it also reflects the availability and disposition of those involved in the educational community towards mobile learning pedagogical integration, problem solving, and the achieving objectives. The results obtained in terms of reading comprehension were positive, and therefore such experience can be used as a model to be transferred to other contexts. Next, please. This study is called The Influence of the First Grade Teacher in the Achievement of Reading Comprehension, and it was developed by Rosen Miron. The Ministry of Education of Guatemala in 2014 reported at the national level 13% of elementary school students in the visual sector read fluently and also understand what they read at the end of the school cycle. Based on this, the study main question is, which factors contribute directly to children who read comprehensively at the end of the first grade of elementary school? To obtain an answer, The questionnaire of associated factors to the first grade teacher was analyzed. The exploratory analysis showed the relevance of the inclusion of variables that have statistically significant weight on the development of reading competence. Among the results, with statistical significance, it is inferred that the factors involved in the acquisition of reading comprehension in first grade include the exposure to practice of both reading aloud and silently in the classroom. In addition, the fact that the teacher tracks the progress of how students learn to read, to communicate it through written notes or addressing them mainly to the child's mother or a brother at the beginning or the end of the class day makes the difference. Next, please. This study is also from Guatemala. It's called The Lexical Availability in First Grade Elementary Level Students in Public Schools in Guatemala, and it was developed by Irma Pais. This study aims to find the lexical availability index of first grade students at the elementary level to establish how many and which particular words they know. It is a quantitative study with an exploratory and descriptive focus. 280 students were assessed with a word association test which focused on the following categories: school, animals, games and play, city, food, family, body parts, profession and crafts, clothing, and home furnishings. To calculate the index, a specialized program was used, meeting criteria requested to facilitate and ensure the validity of the analysis. The results showed that the index of the student in this study does not exceed 0.5, except for the center of interest, family. The index for children living in urban areas in the topics of games and play, clothing, and home furniture was significantly different compared to children from rural areas. The index was also statistically different by gender in the same topics. The results can be used by elementary school teachers to enrich the vocabulary of students, for the development of learning materials, for assessments, and mainly to develop strategies that support the development of early literacy skills based on their existing vocabulary. Next, please. This study is called The Reading Environment of First Grade Students in Guatemala and its Relationship with Reading Fluency, and it was made by Florencia Uriza. For an elementary school child, learning to read and write is a challenge that is often difficult, since it not only requires word recognition, the child must also have fluency and reading comprehension. This study's objective is to learn if a child has a literary environment at home is linked to positive achievement in reading fluency. The hypothesis is there a significant and positive relationship between a child's exposure to the literature environment and fluency in the reading? To obtain information, an indicator of reading fluency was developed using the test variables applied to elementary school children, the basis of which was obtained based on the strategy to ensure the proper use of books and reading materials provided by the Ministry of Education. The results obtained from the research indicate that having books at home, moment of reading at home, and attending pre-elementary education have a positive influence of reading fluency compared to children who did not report these variables. In addition, children who report having books at home and reading at home are more likely to be in the group with a higher than average reading fluency. Finally, other context variables were analyzed, such as school modality, parents' languages, language in which the teacher teaches, child's age, and type of classroom. The results obtained indicate that if the school is multi-grade, it negatively affects reading fluency, as well as the teacher's language is Spanish in a bilingual school and the overage, all negatively affect the student. Next, please. Now we change the country. These are the studies from Nicaragua. The first study is called An Approximation of Nicaragua First to Third Grade Teachers Reading Profile, the Case of a Network of Schools in Nicaragua, and it was developed by Ana Alvarez. International research states that teachers' reading habits and practices have an important influence in their students' reading skills and abilities, hence the importance of characterizing teachers' reading profiles. This research intends to answer the questions: what is the reading profile of the teacher who teaches reading and writing in the first 3 grades of primary education, and how does the teacher's profile influence their classroom pedagogy? This research is based on surveys, interviews, and classroom observations of teachers from the 3 first grade from the network of elementary schools in Nicaragua. Since these schools are located in many regions of the country and serves a similar population to the ones served by public schools, the results might help understand the state of reading habits of teachers in Nicaragua. In the majority of consulted studies, the profiles are based mainly into variables, frequency and reading intensity. In the case of Nicaragua, these variables do not show significant differences. Therefore, the conceptual framework was expanded to consider more qualitative variables such as motivation and literacy content. It is recommended to continue research including the variables above described as central elements for exploring reading profiles. Next, please. This study is called Early Grade Literacy, A Meaningful Transition, and it was made by Dania Mairena and
Hi, Hilda. It looks like your sound cut out for a minute. You may want to try to turn off your video and see if that helps the connection. Okay, just bear with us for a minute, everyone. It looks like Hilda's connection is cutting out just a little bit, so just give us a second here to figure out how to get that going.
Okay, I will continue, and if Hilda gets back, I will stop and let her to continue to the presentation. So this investigation, the ultimate goal was to understand the process and transition from pre-reading and reading and investigate the impact of the preschool in the process of comprehension and the consolidation of the process of reading and writing. Just let me move this. Okay. In the classroom, decoding is privilege over comprehension or creative writing. The regional decline in the motivation to read and the poor capacity for expression and comprehension lead the researchers to question the teaching practices associated with the phenomenon and the influence of the motivation and the social effectivity. They propose this researcher, this was a qualitative methodology related to the work that they did. There is evidence of high motivation for literacy associated with social effective factors, the teacher-students relationship. So this study indicate the researchers, Alejandra and Dania, say that a teaching methodology based on question, experimentation, and high motivation, and a social effective climate of collaboration and close relationship between the teacher and the students during this process, this transition, really support the literacy development and the development of a creative writing and comprehension skills. I don't know if Hilda, you want to say another thing about this research, or should we go to the next slide?
Next, please. Okay, thank you, Paola, for helping. This study is called Nicaraguan Curriculum Limitations on Early Reading Teaching for Mixed Classroom Modality, and it was developed by Melba Castillo and Rafael Mesa. The study analyzed how national curriculum directs early literacy teaching in mixed classrooms how teachers realize those orientations to their own reality. In order to do so, a documentary analysis was carried out on the national curriculum, having as a base the theoretical framework provided by solid evidence in the field of early literacy and mixed classroom pedagogy. Then a case study to comprehend how teachers adapt the national curriculum to their classes was conducted. As a result of this study, many improvement areas related to early literacy and mixed classroom approaches of the national curriculum were identified. It was found out that this curriculum tends to disengage effective teachers' practices on this modality. Next, please. And last but not least is the study developed in El Salvador. It is called Effectiveness of Functional Community Global Method for Reading and Writing on Children in Poverty. And it was developed by Carolina Rovira. Children in poverty tend to belong to families with little cultural capital and are linguistically underexposed. For them, the acquisition of reading and writing skills is more complicated because it requires the development of cognitive processes that should have been enhanced in their families and communities. This study argues that children have a greater likelihood of succeeding in acquiring reading and writing skills if schools, through an adequate selection of the teaching methods, face proactively these structural deficiencies. It was applied a quasi-experimental design on a sample of 1st to 3rd grade children to test effectiveness to global methods compared to the syllabic method. It was conducted a baseline measurement in February 2019 at one treatment and one control group in separate neighboring schools. The intervention provided training and coaching for elementary school teachers at the treatment school. Midterm test results were produced in May 2019. Results show an improvement in the acquisition of reading skills, in other words, in reading speed and comprehension in students belonging to the treatment group. As final reflections, developing these studies allowed the team to identify important lessons. It is important to take the first steps on the long road to building local evidence. There are challenges that researchers face. The most important is that they base their theoretical frameworks on international experiences due to the lack of contextualized evidence in Central America regarding to early grade literacy. But they also learned that being part of regional network creates a secure and rich environment for collaboration, exchange, and research development. Thank you.
Now we have with us Mariela Celar.
Thank you, Paola. It's a pleasure for me to share what are the implications for these programs for the university that were participating on Relay. This is the lesson learned for UBG and the rest of the universities. There is a lot of information that we want to our learners from this program. One of them is related with university role on scholarship programs. And in this aspect, it's important to how these scholarship programs are serving for the divulgation process inside and outside of universities, because that was a very important part of the academic work. Also, we are conforming a scholarship committee that was helping all this process regarding to fellowship selection processes, advising and tutoring processes for fellow that was explained by Paola before, assessing a scholarship process, and all of this scholarship committee was conforming by people from universities. Also, we conforming an ethics committee was helping in all the whole process regarding to all the ethic processes. Also, our partner SECSICA helped us to keep informed regional ministers of education on the regional summits about how these scholarship programs was implemented, what their advancing was, and how the research producing was applying in the countries. Next, please. Okay, which are the benefits for universities and the countries on this program? We can mention that the research skills developing process at the university and also at the country level, we can see how these scholarship programs helps to improve all these research skills among our scholars and also junior researchers. This program also helps to increasing motivation to research and publishing academic articles inside and outside of universities. Help us to strengthen alliances between diverse organizations to foster research on EGL. Also, on promoting EGL discussion and analysis at national and regional level, that was important to include universities, ministers of education, and other organizations in this dialogue. Also, regional universities positioned as knowledge and evidence generators and provide evidence to inform public policy at ministry levels and also to university teacher training programs. That helps us to make a critical analysis of our teacher training program and also give us inputs to improve these programs. Next, please. Which are the challenges from universities from participating in these programs? Developing research programs on EGL for scholars, mainly junior scholars. It's not always easy to find these people who want to apply for these research programs. Financial resources to increase the numbers of scholarships, that was a challenge as well. Diversifying scholarships modalities in order to give a broad array of opportunities to people with different intentions or interests to doing research. The scholars profile was another challenge, how we can improve scholars selection process. Also, the institutional bureaucracy in some cases was a challenge that we have to overcome in order to make a process easier and faster. And scholarships communication and divulgation processes, how we can make this evidence available to the very different audience. Next, please. Some of the limitations are related with few experience on EGL research and training programs at the regional level, the scarce of insufficient resources for research at university levels, but also at the national levels. Few professionals with developed research skills, specifically related with EGL knowledge. But I have to say that also related with research as well. The overload of university staff, as I was mentioned, that university staff conforming the ethical and selection process committee. In some cases, they have to balance this, a lot of activities they have to do with the participation in these committees. And the scholarship duration, we need longitudinal and multidisciplinary studies in order to have more effort to doing research and a more solid evidence related to EGL. How we can advancing on developing research skills. There is an important link in research and training process that was developed thanks to this scholarship program. Also, universities developed a critical process related to their own teacher training programs that were really important for all the universities involved. We have research findings dissemination from different audiences, that we develop very different materials and activities related to share this information or evidence with different people involved on EGL implementations. We develop key messages identified for different audiences, and also we are in the process of a definition for a research agenda. Thanks. So I will let my colleague Josefina Vigil to start our discussion.
Thank you very much, Mariela. And thank you very much for sharing this important experience to promote the development of capacity that Central America greatly needs. Capacity building and development is the most powerful strategy to mitigate the complex problems that the region has, increased by the crisis facing the planet at this moment. I would like to make a few comments on the findings presented here. First, I would like to say that the fellowship program, which also ensures research training for the fellows and coaching by experts, is an important first step towards building local capacity in people and institutions that are going to continue in the region, in universities, in ministries of education, and in other organizations. This is the great potential for sustainable change for the region, as Rafael shared with us before. I will also like to mention that for years in Central America, we invested in hiring experts from other regions who came to Central America to do research and then left. As a result, the region received only the resulting reports or publication, but not a permanent capacity to conduct research, to publish the findings and evidence, and finally, to impact public policy. This effort by Red Lay, in contrast, contribute to the sustainability and ensure that not only are there quality products, but sustainable human capacity to continue conducting this type of research. In addition, the fact that Red Lay is a regional program allows for the construction of a regional vision and the establishment of learning communities that promote South-to-South cooperation. This effort is catalytic and effective for finding common solutions and building ideas and proposals that cross borders. I would like to emphasize that the results of research carried out by Red Lay, as mentioned by colleagues, have identified gaps and barriers, such as the deficient basic training of the first grade teachers, the deficit in the curriculum to respond to the needs and particularities of rural areas, the absence of teaching areas such as motivation or affectivities, the low knowledge of teachers on the use of technology for education, and the lack of coaching support of teachers in the classroom, among others. This research have succeeded in problematizing the reality of early grade literacy in Central America and challenge not only government, but also universities and academics to make urgent change to improve the teaching of early grade literacy as a basis to ensure the quality of education that makes possible the sustainable development of our countries. In addition, the research topics that fellows are focusing on are crucial issues for education in the region: early childhood, use of technology, learning in multi-grade classrooms, successful experience in the transition to the first grade, among others. These are topics oriented towards finding answers and evidence that will improve children's learning results and thus improve their educational opportunities. Finally, I believe that spaces like Red Lay are of critical importance to the region and can help us to overcome many of the region's challenges and contribute to the improvement of education. I would like to propose two initial questions to you all, not only to the panelists, but to all the participants in this panel today, to help guide the discussion. now. The first one is, how do you think Red Lake can sustain its capacity building effort in the region? That is very important. The sustainability is the most important thing that we need to discuss and that we need to find ways to do here in the region. And the second question is, what are other strategies in addition to the fellowship program that might strengthen the building of learning communities and South-to-South collaboration? I would like to know your opinion about these two questions. Thank you very much to you all, for the panelists and for the participants in this panel. Thank you.
Okay, so if you would like to respond, you can go ahead and click the hand button to raise your hand. And all of our panelists are bilingual. So if you prefer to make your question in Spanish, that's totally fine as well. Entonces, pueden hacer sus preguntas en español o inglés, como sienten cómodos. So you can either raise your hand or feel free to type it into the chat. So I don't see any hands raised yet, but I see a couple of questions coming in. So the first one is here by Reina Garcia, which says, los centros educativos que sirvieron como muestra para la investigación tanto en Guatemala, El Salvador y Nicaragua mostraron cambios al finalizar la investigación, mostraron los niños o niñas algún cambio y los docentes. So Hilda, maybe you can take that question.
Sí, con gusto, en español o en inglés.
Creo que lo puedes hacer en español y podemos hacer una pequeña traducción, si quieres.
Ok. Sí, la mayoría de los estudios realizados fueron cualitativos con muestras pequeñas, por lo cual no pueden ser generalizados, pero en estos estudios sí se observaron mejoras en los procesos de desarrollo de las capacidades, de comprensión lectora y también de escritura creativa en los niños y también en los docentes. La mayoría de los estudios tuvieron resultados positivos, los que implicaron una intervención.
Yo quisiera agregar algo, Hilda, con una investigación que, por cierto, presentamos ayer en un panel, que fue una investigación longitudinal que comenzó antes de la beca, pero continuó después de la beca y trabajó el tercer nivel de preescolar y el primer grado. Las webinars que tuvimos van a estar grabadas y la van a poder ver, pero hay un video sobre esa experiencia que está colgado en la página web del programa de capacidades LACRIDS y pueden acceder a él. Es una experiencia sobre el desarrollo de la comprensión narrativa en los niños desde el preescolar y cómo mejoraron los resultados incluso en los ámbitos de decodificación en primer grado, haciendo distintas pruebas. Porque lo que pasa es que las becas tenían un periodo breve, entonces esta investigación había comenzado antes de la beca, por eso encontramos también esos resultados, por si lo quieren ver, ¿verdad? Hay otra pregunta aquí sobre cómo se puede integrar una universidad a la red.
Yes, Paula or Mariela, would you like to respond to that one?
Claro. Mariela.
Voy a responder en español. En la conformación de la red, cada uno de los países de Centroamérica tiene una universidad que la conforma, que es llamado el socio fundador, pero estamos conformando redes nacionales y redes locales en el caso de cada uno de estos países, porque nuestro interés es expandir estos esfuerzos y este interés por generar evidencia y mejorar las implementaciones en lectoescritura. Entonces, vamos a estar desarrollando actividades que permitan a otras universidades, ONGs, asociaciones o personas individuales vincularse con las actividades de Red Lake a nivel nacional.
Gracias, Mariela. I see that Iris Martinez has a question. So Iris, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You should be able to ask your question now. Hola Iris. ¿Tienes una pregunta?
Sí.
Okay.
Hola.
Hola. Sí, te escucho.
Es en relación a la obtención de esta diapositivas y de todo el audio en versión en español. ¿Será posible tenerla?
Tener el PowerPoint en español.
Sí. ¿Y la traducción de toda la videoconferencia quizás?
Déjeme ver. No sé.
Sí.
Uh-huh.
Realmente eso es lo que no habíamos considerado, pero puedo trabajar en la traducción para que ustedes tengan la diapositiva, por lo menos en español. La grabación o la traducción del audio creo que es un poco complicada. Sin embargo, toda la información que hemos compartido sobre las investigaciones, las propuestas, todas las pueden encontrar en nuestra página. En la diapositiva, si pueden ver, está nuestra página, el Facebook, todas nuestras redes. Y al ingresar a nuestra página, ustedes pueden descargar los artículos que ya están publicados, así como los webinars que cada uno de los investigadores han desarrollado, donde han comunicado los resultados de cada una de estas investigaciones, y todos esos están en español. Entonces, también esa es otra forma de obtener toda la información que hemos discutido en esta presentación.
Ok, muchísimas gracias. Habemos un buen grupo de Honduras que hemos estado participando y siguiendo a RedLey y todas las investigaciones. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, colegas, por acompañarnos y también seguir nuestro trabajo.
Okay, hay otra pregunta. Are there any other questions? I see, let's see. I don't see
Yo
any
quisiera comentar algo, no sé si puedo hacerlo ahora, Rebeca, sobre las preguntas que hacía Josefina, que lo podemos discutir también con el resto de los colegas que nos acompañan. Creo que es muy importante el trabajo que como red hemos hecho tratando de identificar investigadores que también están cerca de las universidades, y eso ha hecho que la capacidad se quede en la institución, se fortalezca la capacidad para hacer investigación, los espacios para publicar y el trabajo regional. Eso creo que es una forma de lograr sostenibilidad, porque si bien los fondos es algo que se requiere, se necesita para hacer investigación, hemos identificado que al momento de que cada una de las universidades, los investigadores, se identifican, hacen propias las propuestas, las iniciativas de la red, se apropian de esta propuesta regional, la colaboración, la motivación, el compromiso para realizar diversas actividades se mantiene, inclusive cuando el fondo podría finalizar o el fondo es limitado. Entonces, la sostenibilidad también se ha pensado para RedLey desde la selección de las universidades, que son instituciones que se mantienen a lo largo del tiempo, a lo largo de los cambios en un contexto político tan complejo como en nuestra región. Son instituciones fuertes que son también capaces de poner en agenda muchos de los temas. Y en esta situación en la que nos encontramos actualmente, son instituciones clave para mantener muchas de los grupos económicamente activos y la formación de aquellos que van a mantener y ayudarnos a recuperar la situación económica, social, emocional en general, que será fruto de esta pandemia. Entonces, creo que esa es una forma de lograr sostenibilidad a través de fortalecer a las universidades y dejar instalada capacidad para que ellos puedan también dar seguimiento. Y el trabajo regional favorece también esta creación de esta comunidad de aprendizaje que mencionaba también Josefina, porque normalmente abordamos las situaciones de forma aislada por país, pero el trabajo regional y el compartir, el discutir, va generando estas opciones de construcción también regional que favorece la discusión y el establecimiento de líneas base para futuras investigaciones y aproximaciones para el diseño y la implementación de la política en el ámbito de la lectoescritura.
Great, thank you, Paula. Does anyone else?
Quisiera, Rebeca, repetir las preguntas en español por si hubiera alguna idea, porque solo las hice en inglés. Pero básicamente la pregunta, una de ellas era sobre el tema de la sostenibilidad, que respondió Paola ahorita, y la otra era si hay ideas sobre otras estrategias posibles, además de las becas, para fortalecer la creación de capacidades en investigación, pero también la creación de comunidades de colaboración sur-sur. Si tuvieran ideas sobre eso, serían muy interesantes, ¿no?
Okay, we'll give everybody just another minute if you want to try to type in your comments or if you want to raise your hand. Otherwise, as Paola mentioned too, please do copy the links here on the final slide, and we can send out these PowerPoint slides as well for Red Lay's website as well as the Facebook and Twitter. I also put the LAC Reads website in the chat box that people can copy, and between all of those sources, there's a lot of great information, up-to-date resources and evidence on early literacy coming out of the Latin America and Caribbean region, information about the research grants and the online courses that Red Lay offers. And certainly you can follow up. We're happy to respond and are interested in engaging people in Red Lay as well. So I don't see any other questions at this time. So I think we will go ahead and end there unless any of the presenters have any final comments before we close today. No. Okay. Thank you.
Solo, perdón, Reina preguntaba sobre las becas. El seguimiento sí es completamente virtual, pero sí la publicación se hace a través de nuestra página y la investigación se tiene que implementar en cada uno de los países que se recibe, que está la red presente: Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica y República Dominicana. Entonces, dependiendo del estado de la investigación, porque tenemos diferentes modalidades, pueden recibir el fondo para empezar una investigación desde cero o finalizar una investigación que ya tienen algunos datos, y en otros casos otra modalidad es la realización de una investigación a partir de datos ya preexistentes. Por ejemplo, algunos datos que estén disponibles a nivel público de las investigaciones en los ministerios, y algún especialista investigador esté interesado en realizar un nuevo análisis, puede hacer una propuesta en el momento en que se abra la convocatoria de las becas. Y sin duda están enfocadas en lectoescritura, en los 5 temas que habíamos mencionado, y en los siguientes meses vamos a publicar nuestra agenda de investigación, que gira en torno siempre al aprendizaje y la enseñanza de la lectoescritura, desde la política hasta la metodología, la formación inicial docente, la lectoescritura y la población en situación de discapacidad o habilidades especiales, y la lectoescritura en idioma materno.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Okay, if there are no further questions, then we will go ahead and close for today. Thank you everyone for your active participation and for joining us today on a Friday. We're really happy to engage in this conversation with you and hope that we can keep it going virtually, and that you will check out and join Red Lay's Facebook and Twitter and check out their website so that you can continue to be updated with the most up-to-date resources and evidence that Red Lay is producing. And the website and Facebook will also keep you informed about upcoming applications for new rounds of research grants and research studies that Redlay is opening up. So lots of exciting things happening. So thanks again for joining, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Thank you so much. And thanks to our presenters today for a wonderful job.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias. Nos vemos.
Bye, everyone. Gracias.